Hey, Morning Star small groups, thanks for inviting me back for this next series as we turn the page from flesh to the genius of generosity, written by Chip Ingram. I've already read through the book and just packed full of tremendous truth, and I think it's going to release a lot of wisdom that's going to run kind of counter to conventional wisdom that you're going to experience or hear or have learned from the world, but it's going to be a foundation for us to begin to trust God in the area of our life as finances and our generosity. It's usually one of the last areas that we come to put our trust and faith in God. And so I began this past weekend with this new message series talking about the texting conversation I had with my son. And kind of long story short, he texted me with the three words, first tithe today. And for him, that was a huge step of faith. Growing up in a pastor's home, he knew about faith. He knew about God's teachings. He knew what a tithe was. He knew that he was called by God to attend church regularly, to be in a community of faith, to give his tithe, the first fruits of God's blessing in his life, and to serve and to invite others to church. But even though we plant those seeds in the life of our kids, sometimes they kind of wander, and eventually after a couple detours, kind of get back to where they had begun. And so I was so excited as Jay took that step of faith and began to not only attend church, but to tithe. And then once he started tithing, he stepped forward and started serving. And I pray that that's the kind of blessing and response that's going to be evoked in and through this Turn the Page campaign for each and every one of you. See, as a pastor, I want the best for my congregation. As a parent, as a father, I want the best for my children. And even though Jay is out of dental school now and carrying like well over a couple $100,000 of debt, I was overjoyed because he started giving God the first 10% of everything he started making. Again, conventional wisdom would say, don't do that. Everything you make needs to go into paying down that debt. So why was I excited? Because I know that when Jay invites God into his life, into his finances, that's the best way, the quickest way that he's going to get out of debt, that his priorities are going to be reorganized. And if he's willing to do that with his funds, his finances, then that's going to happen in every area of his life. And I want God's best for my children. It's nothing that I gain from. It's nothing that our church gains from. It's something that he gains from. And that's my hope for each of us. To see financial giving is not what God wants from me, but what God wants for me. And so as you kind of read through this first chapter, as you begin to have your conversation this weekend, keep that in mind, that God wants so much for me in this series. He wants to reveal his truth. He wants me to take the next step in my spiritual journey. And so my challenge is just to be open. Hey, don't shut down. Don't check out. Don't say, I may not make any more of these small groups or messages through November. I'll come back when we start talking about, Christmas. Don't close yourself off. That's exactly what the enemy would want in your life, to shut you down. See, money and finances, I know, represent for many of you the greatest source of anxiety and stress. It's why most of you argue and fight with your spouse. It's the number one cause of divorce. And if you get this right now and train your kids, it can be a source of them understanding that money is not going to buy them happiness in the days to come. So please, just be open. Lean into God's truth. Open yourself to not only what God wants to say through his word, but also what he wants to say through Chip Ingram and this genius of generosity study. I hope it's a great study. I hope it's a great series. And I hope that you'll commit to being a part of every one of these messages and small group teachings. God bless you and have a great study.